Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. Today we have an awesome question. It was so awesome I had to make a video about it from Stephen Damien, who says, serious question, and it is. Mark my words, in a world where everyone's lies instantly became truth, who would be the top tier martial artist? If Frank Dukes, George Dillman, Steven Seagal, the D.U.S.T guy, and all the other McDojo masters could actually do what they say they can, who wins in a fight? Oh, that's a tough one. That's like if you go into a comic book store and listen to the uber nerds talk to each other about who would win in a fight, Superman versus the Hulk, Marvel versus DC, which comic book characters could beat the other comic book characters, because, it's all fictional. But it's fun to speculate on this. And in more recent times, we've had the chance to see live-action movies playing out some of these fantasies in real life. So let's do it with some real martial artists with fictional abilities. So you mentioned a few here. Frank Dukes. What are his claims that are just a little bit, if not a whole lot, out there? Well, we have the having competed in the Kumite. What was it, like a 57-round single elimination tournament? He did a interview recently with Viking Samurai, I believe it is. Go check out that channel if you're interested in interviews with various martial artists of various backgrounds, where Frank Dukes said, well, look, see, it's not like an MMA tournament or a boxing tournament. It's a different format. He never explained what the format was. He just said, it's not like your traditional single elimination thing. That's not how it was. He didn't explain how it was. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. But anyway, the claim is Frank Dukes, if we take him at his word, was able to knock out like 57 consecutive guys in a tournament that lasted a couple of days. Let's say 4 days. I'm not sure exactly what the numbers were, but from that recent interview, 57 consecutive fights over the course of 4 days. I should just point out that that's a lot more extreme than the Chinese National Sanda tournament, which has like hundreds of competitors. And it's a 16, let's see here, 16 fight tournament to win the national title. And that takes place over the course of weeks, as far as I am aware. Anyway, the Sanda Wang, the Sanda King of China, is kind of a bad dude. And that's 16 consecutive wins to get that title. So Frank Dukes, 57 consecutive wins, all right. That already puts him above the best of the best Chinese National Sanda fighters, like at the high professional level. And I've fought some of these dudes. They're bad dudes, man. So anyway, basically Frank Dukes is putting himself up there, saying, yeah, I was that good. What else did Frank Dukes claim? The dim mock death touch, that he could hit you in such a way to make the chi energy or whatever go through the body and penetrate into the internal organs and cause instant death or something like that. So basically Frank Dukes claims he's really, really good at fighting, and he's got some, I hesitate to call them magic powers, but unusual, esoteric powers within striking range, but he has to hit you. But basically one touch, one kill type of strikes. Okay. George Dillman. This is an interesting guy. I've been trying to contact George Dillman because I would love to interview the guy. Because back in the day, he was considered to be a very legitimate karate master. Guys like Muhammad Ali sought after him for training. I kid you not, that's a real thing that happened. If you don't know who he is, today he's best known as being this old no-touch knockout guy who claims to be able to knock people out without touching them, except he did this goofy interview where he said, well, if they cross their toes or stick their tongue in a certain place in their mouth, it can negate it, or it only works on believers, non-believers. Well, it doesn't work on them. So George Dillman claims he can knock you out without touching you, but only if you believe And if your toes aren't crossed and if your tongue isn't in the right place in your mouth, then it can be nullified. So it's kind of a spectacular claim, except almost anything can shut it down. So next we have Steven Seagal. In a bunch of interviews, Steven Seagal was asked his opinion of other martial arts movie stars such as Jean-Claude Van Damme and others, to which Steven Seagal replied, "Can I laugh in your face?" And what other claims has Seagal made? I mean, he's made a lot because he's been doing his thing for decades now. But just off the top of my head, claims he has made that he's apparently a bad dude, really good at fighting, really good at martial arts and instruction, to the point that he's allegedly taught many of the top UFC fighters the moves that they have used to win their fights. So, yeah. Next we have Detroit Urban Survival, aka Commander Dale Brown. Now, to be fair, Dale has shown a bunch of, hundreds, maybe thousands of technique videos out there, and some of them are very questionable, and some of them, really aren't that bad. And at the end of the day, the claim that he makes in every one of these videos is that they will increase your survivability. So, it's not a claim of magic power. It's not a claim of one touch, one kill. It's a claim of this can increase your survivability. Not this will make you an unstoppable, gun-disarming ninja, but it can increase your survivability. So that's not actually a super bold claim that Commander Brown has been making, to be honest. Who else do we have? Well, on this list, that's it, but off the top of my head, I can think of a few others. There's a lady in China. I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's got a cult of followers built up around her. People pay a ton of money to go train Tai Chi with her, but she claims to have esoteric magic powers, basically, that she can create like a force field around her, and if people try to touch her, she can just blast them away and force push them away, and all kinds of crazy things like that. So this is a pretty outlandish claim, but if true, if she wasn't lying about it, this is one of those things that could be used defensively more so than offensively, because people have to try to touch you first, right? So I could see how this could come in very handy in a fight. So let's see, if we put the aforementioned together in a fight, Frank Dux, uber ninja, awesome killing machine, one touch, one kill, can knock out 57 dudes in a single tournament. Steven Seagal hasn't, to my knowledge, explicitly stated claims like that, but just sort of gives off the air, I really am that bad in real life. And George Dillman, no-touch knockout, but only against believers, so does Frank Dux believe in that stuff? That's a good question. You know what? I think he does. Therefore, George Dillman's no-touch knockouts would work against Frank Dux. Possibly against Steven Seagal, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Steven Seagal is a believer. I do vaguely remember him giving an interview where he talked about chi energy and chi power, or ki, as they call it in Japanese, since his tradition is a Japanese martial art, Aikido, so maybe he's a believer also. So maybe George Dillman is the dark horse in this tournament, and he would be able to knock out Frank Dux and Steven Seagal because they are believers. Now, one thing that's interesting about Dale Brown from Detroit Urban Survival is that in his videos, he often talks about believers and non-believers, like, we found a non-believer in our system, and now he's a believer because we showed him our system. And that's really interesting language that he chose to use there, because that's like religious type of language, a believer and a non-believer. So it's very strange that somebody rooted in the idea of self-defense would speak like that. But if we take him at his word, Dale is a believer. So he's not a non-believer, he's a believer if you watch his videos. Therefore, George Dillman's techniques would also work against Dale. And against the Chinese lady with the force push powers, well, clearly she's a believer too, so George Dillman wouldn't even have to get close to touch her which is what triggers her force push power, he would just have to be in the near vicinity, and then he could no-touch knock out her, because, once again, she also is a believer. But before you go away thinking that George Dillman just cleaned up and won this tournament, no. There is one other whose claims far surpass those of Frank Dukes, George Dillman, Steven Seagal, the Chinese Tai Chi lady with the force push powers, and even Commander Dale Brown, and his ability to increase your survivability. And that is the undefeated super ninja keyboard warriors of the YouTube comments section of every martial arts video ever. Those guys, if their claims came true in real life, would be able to defeat anybody under any circumstances, well, under one stipulation. As long as the fight took place on the streets. There you have it. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.